Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Velvet Lounge and what we sold on eBay. All of these items sold over the last 30 days or less. Most of them were in the last couple of weeks. And I picked out what I thought were some interesting items, some items that most people miss when they're out looking for items to resell for profit, or items that sometimes are 100% free and people don't realize that there's really good value in them. And many times the value is much higher than when the items were brand new. So, first of all, yes, this is our Velvet Lounge YouTube page. When you have a moment, I would appreciate it if you could please subscribe. Watch a couple videos. I hope you like them. And if there's anything you think interesting that you want to share online, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, obviously also on YouTube, or Twitter, please do that. We really appreciate it because hopefully we can get a few new subscribers. And yes, there's a title there talking about how I spanked my husband in public. It was the best thing ever. It was so funny, and he was a good sport. So we'll get right into this. One of the items that I sold that did incredibly well was this Indian head penny. I'm sorry, oh my god. It's an Indian head $2.50 piece. So back in the day, they actually used solid gold for coins. And a lot of the coinage they used gold for were items that were, had dollar values, such as a $1 piece, $5 pieces, $2.50 pieces. This one's from 1909, and it is incredibly pretty. The detail on this is amazing. These are original coins. They're not reissued. I don't know if you can see the signature. I'm using an antique fan today as my pointer, but right here where the artist signed the piece. Let me see. The back of it is right here. It's an eagle, and he or she is rested on a branch. The sides of it, I don't know if you can see that detail in this picture, but it's it has like the ridges on the rim or the edge, and these are still pretty well pronounced even for the age. And this was an item that I actually found. And the way I found it is I purchased a container of, it was actually an old sewing box, and in the box there were tons of sewing items, like little implements and things. A lot of them were valuable enough where we could sell them as single items. And this coin, as well as a few others, were in that sewing box. So I don't remember what I paid for the sewing kit or a sewing box, but I know it wasn't very much. But this was a huge bonus. So I always tell people, back in the day, like in the 1800s and previous to that, women unfortunately had very few rights, regardless of race, creed, color, national origin, or religion. And because of that, they would sometimes hide their valuables or extra cash they didn't want their husbands to know about, or parents or whatever, in their sewing kits, because men didn't sew, basically, most of them anyway. And so maybe that's why we found that in this kit. The kit probably had items in it from definitely the 1800s. I don't know if anything earlier was in there, but definitely the 1800s right up to maybe the 1920s. So we were very fortunate to get this, and as you can see, we charge $14.95 for the shipping and handling. So the next item that I have is this very ornate Schmid. I don't know how, I think it's Schlinlenker, German pendulum clock. It's a carriage clock. It has little cloth feet on it. There's 4 of them, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. It has these really cool glass inserts in the front as well as on left and right sides of the clock. I think I have a picture. I know I have a picture of it. Let's see if we can see one of those sides. And that makes this clock very unusual, as well as the inside. The clockworks are signed by the maker. The pendulum was still present, but the clock is broken. It does not work. So what I did is I sold it as parts only as is. And this was an item I actually was just going to donate because I was like, oh, it's broken. I don't know if I want to deal with it. But I looked up the clocks to see like what they were going for, and in good condition, they're going for really, really good money. And in broken condition, they're going for decent money. And I can imagine this being, I would imagine if I had donated this for, I don't donate to the Goodwill or Salvation Army. We only give to Big Brothers, Big Sisters, who work with savers in most states. But I can imagine if this was in a Goodwill or in a Salvation Army, they probably would think it has zero to little value because it's broken. So broken things do sell. We have talked about that before in the past. So what you have to do, though, is you have to look them up on the spot. I would not buy every broken thing you see out there. This was something that we got from a project that we worked on. And it was just like basically going to go in a dumpster, and I recovered it actually to donate it, and because of the brass, if nothing else, and actually ended up keeping it for resale. So this sold for $39. I had a couple bids on it. The shipping was $9.95. And as you know, we do charge a handling fee in our shipping. So whenever I talk about shipping, I know some people will think, well, couldn't you have charged like $5 or $6? Yes, but we have supplies and other things that we're paying for, so we find that buyers do not mind paying a little bit of handling charges as long as they're not excessive. This is definitely something that a lot of people would just walk right by. As a matter of fact, we were doing an estate sale for someone. And after the estate sale, part of their contract is if there was anything left over we wanted, other than a few things that they said that, you know, they wanted, that we could take. So basically all the little miscellaneous knick-knack, paddywhack, give a dog a bone kind of stuff was left over. They did not want any of it. And there were just like, you know, drawers with miscellaneous, like the junk drawers, so like your kitchen junk drawer or whatever. So we sort of dump that stuff in a box, and then later what we do is we look through it to see if there's anything that's worthy of resale, or if it's just all going to be donated or thrown away, or used for miscellaneous arts and craft projects. In this case, there were a bunch of spoons, mostly like coffee teaspoons. This one is actually, I believe, more like a soup spoon because the bowl is round and larger. And they were from airlines that I never have flown before, such as this is Kuwait Airlines. But there were other like Greek Airlines and other like United Emirates. There was a Pan Am spoon and fork. And we know that that company is not in business anymore. So what I did is I recovered those items and sold them separately. This is one that we sold recently. The other sold a while ago. And it sold for $12.99 plus $4.95 for shipping and handling. And the thing with these is most people, because they're spoons or forks, they just walk by them. Or they think they're souvenir spoons and forks. And some of those have a little bit of value on them also. And most of the time you can pick these up for like 25 cents. You might even get a bunch of them for $1. So you sort of want to pay attention to those because it's sort of a throwaway donate type of thing where there is some value. Next is a Wheeler and Wilson number 9 sewing machine. It had all these miscellaneous attachments, as well as, which is hard to find, this original wax paper manual that came with the machine, the wooden box that came with the machine. You press this little button in the front and it flips open. As I stated, there were a bunch of attachments and accessories. Here's a picture of them. And inside was another wax paper, basically showing you how the machine is put together and, you know, the different components. So, most people bypass the Wheeler and Wilson and any other non-Singer sewing machine, antique sewing machines, because they think there's no value in them. However, many of these other machines that are not by Singer, which most of our parents had and grandparents had, most of the other sewing machines, such as a Wheeler and Wilson, have more value because they're rare and because most people purchase Singer, and a lot of people did not purchase this machine, for example, this model. You'll find that even we actually have the drawers from this machine that we will be selling soon. But you'll find that pieces and parts sell for really good money for these other machines that are not by Singer. So for this Wheeler and Wilson lot, we were able to sell everything for $59.99, and I charged them $12.95 for shipping and handling. But what I actually ended up doing is mailing this out in a priority mail envelope. I double packaged it, you know, put everything inside of the envelope. I actually put the instruction book as well as this diagram paperwork in a separate envelope that was hard cardboard, and I was able to get everything into a bubble mailer, which was priority mail. So we made a decent amount off of the shipping and handling of that, but as you can tell, and from what I just said, you know, we put a lot of care into making sure that everything would arrive safely, and that we actually recovered from a project that we were working on, and the rest of the sewing machine went to an auction, but we didn't want the whole machine because, I mean, I won't mail out an entire sewing machine, but we were able to recover parts from it for sale. So something else that a lot of people come into contact with is costume jewelry. Costume jewelry in tonnage is what we experience, and we love it. We are definitely never ever complaining about it, but there is a lot of it out there. There's some that are higher end pieces, and then there are the pieces that are the lowest end of pieces, and the majority of pieces fall somewhere in the middle. So what we do is we will you know, divide out the pieces that we're most interested in, whether it's because someone we know just wants them and we'll give them to them, or if we know someone who is in our black book that is looking to buy specific pieces, we'll contact them, as well as we will separate out pieces for individual sale. And then what we're left with is everything else, which is the majority. So we had, I want to say maybe 70 to 80 pounds of costume jewelry. And I wanted to get rid of the majority of it. And that's the stuff that we wanted to get rid of. We probably have another maybe 30 to 40 pounds of it that we don't want to get rid of. We want to sell those other pieces as single pieces or whatever, or in small groupings. So what we did is we created grab bag boxes of costume jewelry, and here I've never really used like the quantity thing on eBay before, just because most of the items we deal with are single items and they're one-offs. But in this case I had 4, we tested this, so this was a test, And so we decided to start with 4 lots. And so we started with 4 grab bag lots. And in each lot, there's a mixture of everything. Some things might match, some things might not, but 90 to 95% of everything in a lot is 100% wearable. And then we did note there could be some other miscellaneous like items thrown in there that are not costume jewelry. So we sold these lots for $39.95 each and charged $11.95 for shipping and handling. In reality, we were able to priority mail box these and use the regional A box, and most of them shipped out for like $8 and some change. So, we were happy with that because if we didn't do it that way, like as far as selling all this stuff, then we probably would have done a charity, like one of the church sales that are coming up in our area, and we would have had to spread the stuff out and display it and, make sure people didn't walk away, with a 5-finger discount or stealing, if you will, items. So what we decided to do is just get rid of this way, because for people who are out there reselling, the good thing is you can buy decent costume jewelry lots if you have a good seller like us, and then you can turn around and separate these out into smaller lots and sell them yourselves. And that's what a lot of people do when they buy these lots of jewelry from us. A lot of times we sell our costume jewelry lots to a couple different people in Russia. I don't know why, but apparently in Russia there's not as much costume jewelry, I think. And so they will even send me a message once in a while asking if we have anything. So we do a really good job selling our lot simply because it's not just a bunch of garbage. It's just not a bunch of garbage. So that was something that worked out really well. And we have 1 lot left, and then I'm going to list another 3 to 4 lots. If you recall, I told you a while ago, we purchased thousands of Elks Club pins from this one dealer at a flea market for $30. And so far off of that lot, we have probably made, and this is just an estimation, probably $300 to $400. Maybe a little more. I don't think it's any less, but we are still selling, these pins. They're small. They literally weigh less than an ounce. So you can mail. What I do is I always use like first class on something that small. So I mail them out first class mail. It costs me like $2 and maybe 30 some odd cents. So you don't make a lot on the shipping and handling because, come on, you can't, there's not a lot to handle. So you'll make maybe 70 cents or something like that on the shipping and handling, 60 cents. But for these tiny pins, $12.99 for these 2. I mean, you can't beat it. That right there is almost half of what I paid for the thousands of pins that we had. We still have at least, I believe, probably 700 or so left. So it's one of those things that over time, we will just continue to plow away at selling them. And I didn't show that as one of our sales, but we did sell a couple as lots. They weren't big lots. I think there were no more than 7 to 8 pins in each lot. And those did pretty well as far as sales as well. Next, I want to talk about scrap gold and scrap silver, scrap, any precious metal that you consider to be scrap falls under this. So it could be scrap copper even, or what's the other metal I'm trying to think of? But whatever, as long as it's a precious metal, like one of the top 4 or 5 precious metals, what you should do versus taking your items to a pawn shop or to some miscellaneous person in the neighborhood or a jewelry store, is all you need to sell your scrap on your own for the most profit possible is you need a scale. We actually have a couple scales. This is one of the medium-sized scales. And you can see it has a capacity of 5 pounds. So anything over 5 pounds, if it's one item, obviously we use a bigger scale. And then I have a small scale that you can actually slip into your pocket or purse for, even smaller items that goes up, I believe, to a pound, 16 ounces. So all you need is a scale, and these scales can, like this one costs a little more, but you can get some that are even less expensive. It's not a lot of money. And you also, I have loops here. I have a variety of loops that I use for the business. I call them my glass eyes. And I even have, if it's somewhere dark, like a little flashlight that's attached to my chain. And what you do is you just need to know what type of gold you're dealing with. In this case, it was 14 karat gold. It's a charm bracelet, and the reason I sold this as scrap is because several of the hearts are crushed because they're not solid. They're not solid, so they became crushed, and I don't know if that was part of the design or if that happened like by accident. But then I also did notice, and I could see one O-ring right here where some of, like, 2 of the charms were missing. So what I decided to do is sell this as a scrap piece. I mean, technically someone could wear it, but what I did is I weighed it so that I knew how much gold I had, and you can weigh it in grams or troy ounces. When posting on Facebook, Facebook, because I posted some things on Facebook, but when posting on Facebook or eBay or Etsy or wherever you sell, a lot of people are not used to troy ounces. They don't understand it. That's what right here, that's for. You can see the ounces, and I would have to press the tear button 2 times in order to get a troy ounce. 1 time just gives me a regular ounce. Or I could press this button right here, and 1 time to get grams. So the reason that I used grams is because most people understand grams. They don't understand the troy ounce. And the troy ounce number is going to be tiny. Even though this is 8 grams of gold, the troy ounce, I don't remember what the measurement would be, but it might say something like 2 troy ounces. So most people just hear 2 and they become confused as to what the weight is. So most people, when they're selling their scrap gold, silver, whatever, or even if it's not a scrap item and you just want to put the number of grams of gold or silver or whatever it is that's in there, I suggest using the gram method. I find that people understand it. I find that items sell a lot quicker. They go to normal people as well as dealers, whereas a troy ounce stuff, mostly only dealers will look at it because they understand the measurement. And in this case, this bracelet sold for $173 plus $6.95 for shipping and handling. I did insure it, and I sent it out. I did send this first class, and because first class mail through the post office is tracked, I felt comfortable doing that. And you just still want to package everything carefully. You don't want things jingling around and people, crooks and thieves are all over the place, thinking that they might hit a score, which if they got this bracelet, it would be a little score for them. So, I think that most people out there don't understand the idea that reselling their own gold, silver, platinum, whatever. It's really simple. If you have a scale, if you have a loop so that you can ensure that you're reading the gold content correctly, and or to make sure the item is marked. You can also become a little more professional and have acids for testing, which we actually have a set of acids here to test gold, silver, and platinum. You can, and that's mostly for items that are not marked. You also need a scale, and you need a special jewelry scale. So using your bathroom scale will not work. It will not give you a tiny enough measurement as far as the weight goes. And like I said, these pocket scales are super cheap. You can get them for less than $10 to get a decent one. So you need the scale, and then once you have that, you have a platform to sell on, then you have everything you need to sell your own gold, silver, platinum, precious metals. And the reason I said your own is because in certain states you must have a license to sell for other people, not to sell for other people, but to buy from other people and to resell. So if you think you're going to go into the business of reselling precious metals, stones, like reselling coins that you are how can I explain this? So the way I understand it in my state is if I was running a consignment shop or a pawn shop, then I would have to have a precious metals license. But if I go to a tag sale and I randomly buy some stuff, or if I'm working on a project and let's say everything's being thrown in the garbage and I find some stuff, or it's my own stuff or it's my family stuff, then you don't need a license to resell that stuff. You find it, if you find stuff at a flea market and you decide that you want to buy it from the flea market and resell it yourself, you're totally fine doing that in my state. But like I said, if you have a jewelry store, if you have a pawn shop, if you have a consignment store, then you have to have a license in order to do that, because people might be bringing you things that they stole, and that's illegal. And so then you would be involving yourself in an illegal transaction. So that's why they have certain things you have to do, such as taking a photo of the item. You have to have the person fill out paperwork and get their ID. I think you have to hold the item for like 30 days or something like that before you can sell it, just in case there's a police report or whatever. So, know the laws in your state in regards to reselling precious metals, coins, as well as precious gems or semi-precious gems, because every state might be different. But I just want to make sure that people, see today that, we have an item that was broken, totally not working, that sold for $39 plus $9.95 shipping and handling. We had an item that people probably would think was worthless or had very teeny tiny minimalistic value because it's a spoon, and most people just walk right by spoons nowadays. And this one is, sold for almost $13 plus $5 for shipping and handling. Also, sometimes people get stuck on the big brand names, such as Singer sewing machines, and they pass up the other sewing machines that sometimes have even more value. Also, costume jewelry, if you have a ton of it that isn't signed, it doesn't seem as if it's going to be overly expensive as far as, something that's worth taking the time to sell individually, but the pieces are still nice. Or even if, like in this lot, we do have signed pieces. So, you have to figure out how to move that stuff so that you're not sitting on it forever. Think about selling it in lots or in grab bags. It's, something that works out really well for you and gives someone else an opportunity to resell. Also, our other lesson is on scrap precious metals, gold, silver, platinum, copper, even brass. Believe it or not, people have been selling brass in bulk. You need a lot of it, and you're not going to make, hundreds and thousands of dollars unless there's some interesting figural pieces or artistic pieces in there. But, do your research. And it's simple as far as being able to resell this stuff on your own. and not have someone like a middleman take most of your profit. If I were to bring this bracelet to, so we have a refinery that we deal with sometimes. They pay me 97% of the market. So that's pretty good, because if something was selling for $100, like if the gram weight was, $100 per gram, I get paid $98. I have no issue with that. But also, if I were to take this to a pawn shop, a jewelry shop, a consignment type place, someone in the neighborhood who buys and sells, gold or whatever, then they're probably only going to give me like $50 max for this. So $123 in profit, plus some profit from the shipping and handling, is what would be left on the table for other people. So if you just, take the time to educate yourself, you can actually make more from your items than you think. So thank you so much for tuning into the Velvet Lounge today. Please join us on YouTube by checking in, clicking the little bell. If you click the bell, anytime we have new content, you'll be notified. And you can also, I think, modify how often you receive notifications, which is really cool. We're also on Facebook. We don't really put a lot on Facebook yet, but I mean, hopefully you could check us out on Facebook. Give us some suggestions. If you have any questions about reselling, any tips or tricks of the trade you'd like to share, please let us know. If you want us to review your eBay store, please contact us. We've actually done that for a few people, and they loved the service. The feedback was amazing. I hate to use this word, but I was so proud, because all the hard work, all the years of knowledge definitely paid off and helped a lot of people. So we were really happy about that. So thank you guys. Have a great day. And whatever you do, try not to leave any extra cash on the table. You did the work, so you might as well make the profit.